Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I came across a video called Life Updates from a YouTuber that I've been watching for years and years and years now, and I watched it the whole way through and was just floored by what had been happening to her, and I looked more into it, and it's just a really insane, crazy, and honestly very sad and heartbreaking situation. I just wanted to talk about it and maybe talk more about what's going on in this whole case, because it's quite scary how somebody who a lot of people looked up to, and I personally looked up to, I really liked her, whose life has sort of taken a turn and led her to this sort of situation. Today we're going to be talking about Phan, and I think most of you already know who she is or have at least heard her name on this platform, because she used to be one of the biggest beauty bloggers or beauty YouTubers out there. There was a point in time where she had, I think it was the most subscribers of any beauty influencer. She had like 8 million subscribers at a time where that kind of number blew everyone else out of the water. The beauty community today has expanded so much that that number sounds quite small. I know today there are people who have like 24 million, like James Charles has 24 million subscribers, but at the time Phan was the biggest beauty YouTuber out there, and she was obviously very successful, but I think it's clear that she's always dealt with some mental health issues, and she abandoned her channel for a little while and took a step away from YouTube because, well, she gave a lot of reasons, but one of them was mental health. She says she just sort of felt like used and sort of lost in this whole media space. Honestly, she has quite a checkered past when it comes to using her platform to promote things that are shady or doing things that are a little bit strange, I say, or weird. There was one instance where she was promoting Bitcoin, like actively promoting Bitcoin to her subscribers, and another instance where she would reportedly only hire employees based on their astrological signs, and she felt that that had some sort of effect on whether or not they would be compatible with the company that she was running. There are more, but I bring up these two instances specifically because the first one sort of shows that she has in the past actively used her influence to sway people in a way that can be harmful to them. Investing in Bitcoin specifically is known to be very risky. I'm obviously not a financial advisor, so I can't tell you how legitimate what she was advertising was, but from what I have been able to read online, a lot of people say that it felt very shady. There have been allegations of pump and dump schemes or whatever, and the second instance I bring up because I feel like it sort of displays a mindset that is almost like conspiratorial, almost like in Vietnam we call it like mê tín dị đoan. It means quite spiritual and believing in spiritual causes, but it has quite a negative connotation in the sense that you sort of take to heart those like spiritual things and let it affect you in a negative way.
Because again, like, I don't know if you know me, but I'm an Aries. My sun is in Aries, my Jupiter is in Aries. Jupiter's in Aries right now, so I love to do things. I'm a doer. I'm an Aries, I'm too curious, and I'm always trying to expand and explore my curiosity.
And I'm bringing it up because recently she has been accused of being in a cult. More specifically, it started with her posting a few Instagram stories that were quite questionable. I'm going to pop them up. But it was about being at a medical retreat where she was functioning on 4 hours of sleep and describing a schedule that is incredibly strenuous and seems very stressful, and where she was forcing herself to meditate for hours and hours without bathroom breaks, and then saying that she felt like all of these different things like connection to the divine and so on. And then she says that she, with her mind, healed a man who was wheelchair bound. Obviously, when someone is online making those sort of medical claims, it's very concerning, and her followers were very concerned. Quite a few videos have been made about this, speculating that she's in some sort of cult. And 2 weeks ago, she posted a video called Life Updates where she addresses the allegations and tries to convince her audience or her followers not to believe in these criticisms or these allegations. And honestly, I have never watched a video that convinced me more quickly of somebody possibly being involved in some sort of, if it's not a cult, some sort of group that is like harmful. Obviously from her Instagram stories, already a lot of red flags. First of all, sleep deprivation, a lot of people have pointed out, is a tactic that is used a lot in cults, where you're basically, if you function 4 hours of sleep, you're basically delirious if you do it for days and days on end. The sleep deprivation, it makes you not think properly or think straight. Anyway, so in the video, she says that she was on this retreat that was run by a new age thinker, author named Dr. Joe Dispenza. And it's a week-long advanced retreat held worldwide. It costs like $2,000 for one person to go. On its website, it promises things like the most transformative experience and taught about limitless possibilities that exist when the mind, body, and spirit merge into one, according to his website, which is obviously a lot of like new age talk. The thing about this guy that a lot of people have pointed out is he's not a doctor. He's not a medical doctor. He's a chiropractor. He's not a scientist. He's not licensed to be making all of these medical claims.
Dr. Joe Dispenza is the real Dr. Strange. So Dr. Joe Dispenza was in a car accident, spinal cord was broken, all of his colleagues and the top neurologists basically said, like, you'll never walk again, and he didn't accept that as his truth. He decided that he was going to find another way, and so he did the work, and he began to walk, and he was completely healed. And that's his testimony, that's his story, and he wanted to reverse engineer exactly what he was doing so that he could share it with people. And I think that's actually what I needed.
And he was actually licensed by a school that lost accreditation in 2002 for its subpar teaching methods, according to E.J. Dixon from Rolling Stone. Despite all of this, he brands himself as a researcher of epigenetic quantum physics and neuroscience. And he has been branded by some people as being an aspiring cult leader. Michelle, in that video, basically really talks up this experience, and she says it's been so transformative. She sort of tries to make claims about why she thinks that this, even though it's not completely fitting into the sort of Western biomedicine mold, she believes in it because she feels it working for her, and then she sort of brings in like Eastern medical practices that she's done all her life. Like, she talks about traditional Chinese medicine that worked for her in her past. She talks about the Vietnamese practice of like steaming or herbs and lemongrass and stuff like that. And she says that that is also not administered in Western hospitals, but it's always worked for her, and there's no reason that this sort of new approach can't work.
A lot of like learning these techniques that have been around for thousands of years. I mean, what Dr. Joe is teaching isn't new, but he's teaching in a way where I'm able to understand it, because I like that he takes Eastern medicine and philosophy and he blends it with Western medicine and philosophy. So he blends the two worlds together, which speaks to me. I believe in the Eastern technique. I grew up with it. I remember drinking disgusting herbal Chinese medicine, and the next day my issues were gone as a kid. I remember like doing like these weird stuff, you know, like this sauna thing with lemongrass. It's something that, you know, Vietnamese people do with ginger and lemongrass, and you put blankets over you and just sweat everything out. And acupuncture. Acupuncture has helped me tremendously with my trigeminal disorder that I have on my face. It's so painful. It's basically when you touch certain parts of your face, it feels like an electric shock. I don't have it as much. It's subsided like 95%. So I believe in that stuff. For me, now I know breath work and meditation, it really helps me connect to my spirit.
A lot of people were sort of like shocked about what she was saying, but honestly, as a Vietnamese person, there's a huge segment of Vietnamese people and Asian people in general that I've met that have some sort of like some similar suspicions towards Western biomedicine. It's nothing new. when I listen to her say things like that, people say things like, well, traditional Chinese medicine and alternative medicines have existed for thousands of years before Western biomedicine, and there's no reason that because they've always worked in the past, there's no reason that they can't work now. And you know, I've actually even taken courses at U of T where we explore like the ethnocentrism of calling it alternative medicine when it's existed so much longer than Western biomedicine. Personally, I've done things that like her, like I've drank the bitter Chinese medicines that she's talking about, and I've done the lemongrass steaming thing, and it does work for mild colds and fevers, but it's such a slippery slope to talk about that kind of cure, that kind of medical practice, and lumping it in with all of these honestly fantastical claims that are being touted by this new group that she's joined herself. Because yes, those things might work for certain non-threatening, non-chronic diseases like fevers and colds and mild things, because the side effects of these like medicines, even if it doesn't work, it's not, the stakes aren't high at all. Like using like herbal medicine to cure a fever or a cold isn't the same as trying to use it to cure someone who is wheelchair bound or has like some sort of chronic disease like cancer or something. But I can see how it is a slippery slope, because the thing with traditional herbal medicine and Eastern medicine is that there's no scientific guarantee that it's going to work or scientific testing. It's just, it's always existed in the family. It's always been like that. That's how people practice it in the past, because there's no medical scientific proof, like experiments that can be sort of replicated. There's no like organization that regulates that sort of alternative medicine. Anyone can claim like anything, and then as long as they're an authoritative force or an authoritative figure, you're inclined to believe them, because, you know, these other sort of practices, these Eastern practices worked for me, so why not this as well? For example, this sort of thinking can explain her pretty questionable claims at the beginning of the pandemic about how essential oils could prevent you from contracting the virus. So she says, our first point of contact for viruses is our nose. If you are burning antiviral essential oils around you, this will kill off the virus before it enters your system. So people are like, well, how can she fall for this sort of thing? How can she fall for the claims that this guy is making? It's honestly not such a large leap. Another layer to this is that she talks about being introduced to this group by someone who she really respects and who is also Asian, who's also Vietnamese, and she says she talks a lot about feeling included and feeling like somebody that looks like her and is in the same field as her is introducing this to her, makes her inclined to try it out.
The irony is that I didn't even want to go to this. You know, my friend, who I highly respect when it comes just on the career level, just goals. On a personal and spiritual level, again, goals. Like, it's so rare for someone like me. I'm in the media space. I live in LA, so I meet a lot of people, big media executives, just from my personal interaction. I would say most of them, a lack of spiritual depth that I've experienced. And so meeting my friend, my colleague, was just like a breath of fresh air. And also, this person is Vietnamese. So again, also super unicorn. It's so rare to see someone who looks like me, representation in this world, in this entertainment world. So I was so I felt deeply connected on a spiritual level. So we became friends, and anything this person has ever recommended was always like A+. So they invited me to the Joe Dispenza retreat.
And I feel like that's a pretty human response, I guess, because sometimes it's easier to trust people who speak your own language and who look like you and who can sort of understand your life experiences a little bit better. Michelle talks a lot about never feeling like included, and unfortunately it is a tactic of people from certain minority groups promoting these sorts of groups to other people with the same ethnicity. So that being said, I also wanted to talk about the discourse surrounding Michelle Phan and this whole situation online, and I know that there are a lot of videos that are talking about this to warn other people that this might be something that is not the best decision and might be potentially harmful, because Michelle does have so many subscribers and she could influence some of them to do something that might not be in their best interest. But I've also seen a lot of people who just want to criticize her and dunk on her for falling for this sort of thing, calling her a cult leader and making all these allegations about her character. I don't know how they could have inferred that from the limited amount of information that she's shared so far, considering that all we know is what she posted on her Instagram story and what she said in that video of hers 2 weeks ago, and obviously research on this group and this doctor. Honestly, if the point of those like criticisms are to help her try to see what she's doing is wrong, mocking her in order to change her mind or make her realize that this is dangerous, I don't think it's going to work, because that's just not how people with that mindset works. Personally, I've known in my life some people who tend to lean towards these sort of alternative medicine routes, and some people would call them medical cults or whatever, but when they have that sort of mindset in their head and they are predisposed to believing or being sucked into this, it's very difficult to get out of. They're probably not going to. They're going to just most likely move between these different sets of beliefs. So for example, I've known people in my personal life, they will just move from one so-called cult to another one. So yeah, I just find it so sad because some of the criticism I feel like is just super harsh, saying that, oh, you're harming your subscribers, you have a responsibility not to do harm to your subscribers like this. Well, I feel like it's like that argument about like being on a plane and you have to help yourself before you help the passenger next to you. I feel like it's so clear from that video, the way she was talking, and then she was actually crying at one point, saying that she's so glad that some people out there care about her.
Now all of that was happening. I felt so happy that people cared for me. Like, holy shit, like people actually were worried about me and they're scared for me. And it just made me feel so loved. It made me feel like I was cared for. Just the fact that a lot of you thought of me, you know? Yeah, it made me, just made me want to cry. Like, I felt really touched by that because I've been going through a lot. I just don't talk about it. So it was nice to see that. I felt really appreciated. Thank you.
I feel like it's so clear that she's vulnerable and she's hurting, and I think it's putting too much on her because I feel like if she truly believes what she's saying in those videos about how amazing and just life-changing and brings you closer to the divine and has cured all of her woes, I feel she believes that it's her responsibility to spread this far and wide as well. Also, the thing with the life updates video that she posted, she keeps the comments open. Judging by the comments under her video, not many people are thinking this is a great idea, I'm gonna go out and replicate it. Yeah, it's just so sad to see somebody who seems so sweet. Like, she has such a calming and nice and sweet voice, and she always has like a calming aura around her. I always felt like I was watching like an older sister doing makeup. And honestly, when something like this happens, you just have to hope that she has like a good enough support system around her to sort of like pull her out of it. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.